Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Krishna, and I'm glad that you can join me as I pay tribute to the late martial arts master, Bruce Lee. This video is a little bit different. Instead of being a tutorial, I wanted to share some memories and experiences and why Bruce Lee plays a huge role in how I've grown up and how I've developed over the years. Now, I was too young to really see Bruce Lee when he was around. I think I was about 1 year old when he passed away. And my first experience with Bruce Lee was seeing him in a martial arts film on television. I think it was probably The Chinese Connection or Fist of Fury. I can't remember which one it was, but I was taking martial arts at the time. This would have been 1982. And our sensei had mentioned something about these kung fu movies playing every evening on the local channel. And so I watched them. And that was my first exposure to seeing Bruce Lee. What I really connected with was his calmness, his ability to stay reserved. But when the injustices became so much, he had a response. And he was able to stand up and not just take it. This is something, believe me, as a child who had been bullied many times, I wanted to do for myself. I was constantly bullied up through and including even in high school. So it was a very, very tough thing for me to endure, to just sit there and take it because I didn't want to get in trouble. And my parents deeply discouraged the idea of violence. They wanted me to be the better person. And so I would essentially let the injustices prevail. Now, I never got into any fights in high school. I tried to let it roll off my back. It was painful, but watching Bruce Lee and seeing how he dealt with people that bullied him just gave me this sense of deep satisfaction. Very cathartic, because even though I couldn't really do anything to my oppressors, seeing that there was somebody that could do that really gave me some confidence. And growing up as an Indian kid in the United States and even in Canada, there weren't any Indian role models for me to connect with. I felt like a stranger in a strange land. I'm a first generation American, first generation Canadian as well. And so I couldn't connect with the people from India because I grew up here in the West. And at the same point in time, I knew that because of my name and because of the way people would perceive me as an Indian kid, that I wouldn't be fully accepted. And the bullying, I think, pretty much reinforced this idea that I didn't belong. So having a role model like Bruce Lee really allowed me to better understand that I wasn't alone in this particular instance. I know that there were just movies, but as an impressionable fourth grader, his movies carried a lot of weight. As I grew older and I started to study martial arts, I went back in high school and I took Taekwondo, Hapkido, and Judo. I really developed a sense of discipline and purpose. And I joined martial arts primarily because of Bruce Lee. Just like many people pick up the guitar because they want to play like Jimi Hendrix, Bruce Lee was the catalyst for me to join martial arts. And it helped develop that inner confidence that I felt like I didn't have. And it was only in high school that I kind of came into my own. And there were still bullies, but I had the internal confidence to know that if I had to use force, I could. And what I learned is really a lot of restraint. Now, as I grew older, I started to read more about Bruce Lee's philosophies and his biography to learn more about the man, not the movie legend. And it turns out that Bruce Lee had many struggles that were outside of the struggles that he faced as a character and in one of his own movies. He was a Chinese American who tried to fit in with the folks in the United States. He kind of straddled both cultures. He was Chinese, but he was also American, and he was not accepted, by a lot of Americans, and he was also kind of not accepted by a lot of Chinese folks. So he was kind of in the middle. And despite that, he moved forward. His goal was to be a great teacher, and he taught anybody and everybody how to perform martial arts. At the time, that was not really the common practice. Chinese martial arts instructors would only teach Chinese. They did not want to teach their skills to Westerners. Bruce Lee broke that mold. I learned that in the late 60s or early 70s, he had a massive health issue that kept him bedridden. I believe he had a torn or herniated disc or a set of herniated discs. I'm not exactly sure what the issue was, but he had some significant back pain and was told that he would not be able to practice martial arts. And he didn't let that diagnosis stop him. He prevailed. He used that time to, read, study, and, develop his philosophy, which I resonate with quite a bit. And eventually he was able to come out of his injuries and went on to film the movies that we all know and love. So I can resonate with that aspect too, because about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was involved in a car accident and I was bedridden. I was in a lot of pain and couldn't really move, and had to find the will and the strength to go ahead and get back up and pick myself up. A lot of people don't really even know that I was in pain because I didn't want to show that. And I think it was just this idea of, despite the pain, we must persevere. And that's something that I learned from Bruce Lee. I don't think his pains ever went away. I think he still had pain even towards the very end of his life, but he didn't let that stop him from doing what he wanted to do. And I'm pleased to report that I've been pain-free for several years now, but I can definitely relate to having a major setback and, having to make a decision. I could let the pain consume me, or I could persevere, and I chose the latter option. So for me, Bruce Lee represents not just martial arts and, the ability to stand up for oneself. There's this strength that he carries, this calmness, this peace, and he really understood life. Many of his quotes, I'm sure you've heard his quotes, "Be water," is one of the famous quotes that Bruce Lee has been attributed to, which I respond, because part of what I had to learn growing up is to be very flexible, to adapt myself to different situations. Growing up and moving around to different parts of the United States as a kid, being the new kid all the time, I had to really learn how to adapt, to try to fit in. I wasn't always successful, but as I reflect on this as an adult, learning how to move with different people and moving to different areas has really helped me be a better, more empathetic individual to others who might be new or who might be looking to try to fit in. And I have to credit Bruce Lee for that bit of enlightenment. So that's just a little bit of, my tribute to Bruce Lee. I wanted to go ahead and pay a visual tribute to him. I also wanted to share why Bruce Lee was so important to me. He plays a pivotal role. I think he's very influential for a lot of folks. And for me, the connection is definitely deep. And I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.